Danganronpa has recently become one of my favorite video game franchises. So, naturally, I wanted to make a video about it, but the series is so dense with strong appeals, I had a hard time deciding where to start. Well, I think if you had to boil down the raw appeal of Danganronpa to a particular element, it would absolutely be the game's expansive and colorful cast of characters. Bear with me for what might seem like a strange comparison to take seriously, but those of you around my age may remember when the biggest show on Cartoon Network was Total Drama Island. A cartoon in which 22 distinct and bombastic teenagers were pitted against one another in a single elimination survivor challenge. Every week, viewers would pray their favorites wouldn't be the one removed from the island. And that was the biggest appeal. Such a continuity and sheer intensity wasn't at all commonplace for cartoons. While the two series have been compared in a mimetic manner, I think a very similar principle can be applied, in a serious sense, by creating a really huge and incredibly diverse cast of characters and putting them in a situation where they'll leave the story one by one. You instantly hook those interested even slightly in anyone in the room. And that is the crux of Danganronpa. For those of you unaware, Danganronpa is a series of games centered around Hope's Peak Academy, where the students are only the utmost and ultimate of their respective crafts and passions. From the ultimate baseball star to the ultimate writing prodigy, the best and brightest of Japan's youth is gathered here. However, things take a turn for the worse when the mysterious Monokuma locks everyone inside and challenges the class to his killing game. The students are damned to spend the rest of their lives in the school unless they kill one another and get away with it in a class trial. As the game's protagonist, you have to investigate your friend's final moments and connect the dots to flush out the killer, and little by little, the mastermind behind all of this madness.
During the class trial, you will present your arguments for who the killer is and vote for who done it. If you vote correctly, then only the blackened will receive punishment. But if you pick the wrong person, I will punish everyone besides the blackened.
The stakes are scraping the sky, and you know from the moment you hear the premise of the game that it's going to break your heart. Standing before you are the characters that you're bound to get attached to. And yeah, it's gonna hurt when they start picking each other off, or even worse, when you have no choice but to expose their murders and send them off to Monokuma, who will carry out their execution. Not dissimilar to something like Total Drama Island, to be blunt. We're all clenched when the time comes to see who bites the dust next. And for every time our gut twists as we discover the body of a character we love, we let out a sigh of relief when a trial ends and the one we've grown to love is safe and sound. Until the next murder. This is what makes Danganronpa the huge hit it's become, but how does it orchestrate its characters in a way that it sucks us in so quickly? After all, each game sees you quickly introduced to 15 other teenagers. You'd think someone would just become a face in the crowd, right? 12.5 characters crammed in a room together doesn't mean much unless they're memorable. And this is an order Danganronpa fills in excess. As I mentioned before, every character is the elite in what it is they do. Their passion is baked right into their identity, making it easy to distinguish and remember them. But that's not to say they're at all one-dimensional. Every student has hopes, dreams, and interests that far outstretch their designated talent. The player can explore these at their liking via the free time events between trials. You can spend time with a student of your choice and learn more about them. But be careful who you talk to. Time is ticking for just about everyone before the killing game snatches them next. Identity aside, the designs of the characters are also brilliant. The first time I played Danganronpa, I was practically overwhelmed by the sheer volume of cool, cute, and different-looking characters, each with tiny idiosyncrasies and illusions that speak volumes just by looking at them, from Junko's hair charm, symbolic of Japanese teen culture, to Mondo's pompadour and long coat, reminiscent of the Yankee biker counterculture. A strong design in some cases speaks far more about a character than the character themselves ever could. Every character has a distinct silhouette, and even as you come across characters with similar body types, you'll find that the art of Danganronpa is so expressive that there's no trouble distinguishing them. Two characters may be diminutive, but show body language that's lethargic versus mischievous. Two muscle-bound characters may differ as gentle as opposed to boisterous, and two heavily uniformed characters can oppose one another as rigid as well as flexible. All of this is tied together by the brilliant expressions the characters are capable of showing. Despite being stories told largely by pictures, it's nearly seamless how the body language and facial expressions bring the characters to life. No matter how easy it may seem to pigeonhole some of these characters into certain traits, they all show a wide range of emotion, from condescending to flabbergasted, from determined to coy, from exuberant to warm. The full colors of every character is painted vividly by the character's expressions, and really no two are at all alike. So here's a ton of characters with fun designs and overpowering personalities, but they're gonna die every chapter. You risk losing your new best friend every time you wake up in this game. This may leave you asking, why bother? Is my favorite character going to be dismissed the second they're gone? If my favorite doesn't last as long as I hoped, will they feel wasted? The answers may surprise you, as the masterful ways the characters are handled shines even brighter the deeper you delve. A couple examples. Kazuichi Soda within the game is never seen without his trademark hat, except in a single piece of official art where we see that beneath said hat is a mop of pink waves and braids. This piece of promotional art is the only place you'd see Kazuichi's full hair, and all from the benefit of an artist that took that extra mile. My point being, the writers and artists behind this game know these characters backwards and forwards and much, much more than you ever could. Even the first person to die in each game has miles and miles of nuance and detail that you have the chance to discover via the free time events, bits and pieces within the game, and even details after they pass. Some of the most memorable characters with the most well-defined personalities in these games, I would argue, are the earliest to die. Nobody's death is meaningless, and while winding up in the shoes of the murderer isn't a flattering disposition, it's rare someone is revealed to be a killer without us learning something more about them. It's so rarely a desire to escape the game alone, it's usually something much more that drove these characters over the edge. And make no mistake, the sins of these characters are not sugar-coated by any means. The game, by and large, leaves it up to you to decide how you feel about someone after they're gone. Reactions are often mixed within the rest of the cast, and with rare story-driven exceptions, you're seldom forced to feel a certain way. You see a murderer for what they did and why, and how you feel about that is your call. But how you feel nearly doesn't matter, because regardless, the killer is to be executed for their crime. What awaits each killer is a nightmarish punishment that reflects their identity, a funhouse mirror that sees their own passion turned against themselves. Monokuma's facetious yet sadistic nature bleeds through these sequences, as they make the perfect climax to a tense and challenging class trial. The man we have to thank for such incredible character work is Kazutaka Kodaka, Danganronpa's creator, director, and head writer. Just a glimpse at some of his interviews and author's notes shows that this is a man who cares about his characters as if they were his own children, that he's going to kill, but I digress. The effort and time he dedicates to even the shortest-lived character is commendable, and the creator whose passion explodes beyond that harbored by his fans is so refreshing. You can see his passion swell and erupt with each passing installment of Danganronpa. Because the most rewarding thing about playing Danganronpa has been watching it grow. As I played through all 3 games in a row relatively recently, the evolution of Danganronpa exhibits is awe-inspiring. Each game teaches lofty lessons and ideals, only for the next to subvert and challenge itself. Some characters exist to be the antithesis or cautionary tale of something you were intended to carry from the previous game. And it makes you genuinely question everything up to that point. Seeing Kodaka toy and dispute the very characters he put on pedestals in the game prior, and seeing how that makes Danganronpa all the more thought-provoking and thrilling has been an unforgettable experience. In an age where the common complaint of video games is the lack of risk-taking, Danganronpa is a flashy outlier in glitter and pink grease paint. It always spits in its own eye and is exceedingly exceptionally versed in playing with the player's expectations, especially those of a seasoned player that has played each game in order. It makes for a trilogy that has inspired me more than anything has in a long while, and I encourage you to delve into the same journey.